My future is looking uncertain, and I need to talk about it today just to really get it off my chest. I've been living with an inflammatory bowel disease called ulcerative colitis for over 11 years now, and for the past 4 years, I've been on a medication called infliximab. This is important to know because it forms the basis of the decision that I've had to think about and my trajectory into the future and why I feel like the future is uncertain for me, and honestly, why I'm quite terrified. So, this medication, I won't go into details of what the medication is, but basically, my nurse at the hospital says that the medication usually only is like its efficacy lasts about 5 years, and after 5 years, it's likely that you'll go into a flare. And what is a flare, you might ask? Well, for me, a flare with ulcerative colitis means I might get ulcers inside my bowel. Sorry, this might go into a bit too much detail, but it's important to know the gravity of the situation for myself to frame this decision. It could bleed a lot, and in the past, that has meant that I've had to go into hospital, and that's how I even ended up on this medication in the first place. Rewind 4 years ago, I was in the hospital. I was in a bad flare state. I felt like, to be honest, I thought it was the end for me. And they gave me this medication called infliximab. And that healed me. It was honestly a miracle at the time. Within 12 hours of having it injected into my veins, the symptoms started to ease and the bleeding started to clear up. Now, it's, fast forward 4 years later, and I'm in that zone where the medication could stop working. And I talked to my nurse just a couple of days ago. I had an appointment every 6 months. I have a face-to-face appointment with my allocated nurse just to talk about things. And I said, I've been thinking about my medication because I remember that conversation we had those years ago. And not just that, but the fact that these medications have a toll. Yes, they keep me healthy. That's a huge pro. And I'm lucky enough, touch wood, to be in a position where I can think about the cons of the medication. I think about the long-term effects. There may be damaging effects on my organs. The pill that I take with it, I've got it right here. It's called azathioprine. This increases my risk of skin cancer from the sun. So now ever since I've been on this medication, I've just got this baseline anxiety where I have to walk outside, completely cover myself. And now it's kind of getting into summer. I'm always walking around like this, fully hooded, and I hate it because I get so sweaty. It's not an enjoyable time, and this has an impact on your body in its own right. But the whole point of taking this is just for context, reduces my chance of building antibodies to the IV that I have, the infliximab, which means it keeps its efficacy. It maintains its efficacy and means it works for me. And I said to the nurse, I want to reassess this because I want to ensure that I live for the foreseeable future, because at the end of the year, I'm going to have a child and I want to be able to be around. And in my mind, I'm thinking, am I going to be healthy enough? Am I going to be around? And anytime I ask that question, they say, yeah, if you treat your IBD, you will live you could live a normal life. You might have the lifespan of a normal individual if it's treated well and you're not in flare. And I said, how will I know when this medication stops working? And they said, the only way we know is when you go into flare. So I'm like, okay. And basically I said, I'm thinking about my options here. What can I do? Is there any way? I was thinking I want to go on the minimum effective dose possible to reduce the impact of these medications on my body, but maintain my health. And she said, well, some patients go on a medication holiday. This means that you won't be on the medication for a year, but there's risks. There's a 50% chance that you flare. And I thought, well, I'll be honest, I don't feel like rolling the dice on that. 50% chance? I mean, there's a 50% chance you don't flare, but 50% chance that you do. A flare is not a good thing. That a flare increases your risk of bowel cancer, and that's not something I want to increase the risk of. It's safer to just play the odds to not flare. It's honestly safer. So, I mean, that approach, yes, it appeals to me in the sense I don't have to take medication, but then I don't want to roll the dice and have a 50% chance of being back in hospital. Yet if I stay on my medication, it cuts to the 5-year mark, which is soon. She said, some people last 10 years before the medication stops working. And then there's a chance of flare anyway. So it's like, well, you can't really win. And then I said, do you know anyone that's been on it for 20 years? 20 plus years? She said no. She doesn't know a single patient that has been on it for that long. She said 10 years is usually the mark where it just stops working no matter who you are. And then what's left? And then you try a different medication. And I guess you just go through this loop. You go from one medication to the next. And this is why I play it safe by trying to be as healthy as possible today. Trying to eat the right sort of foods today. Get the appropriate sleep today to reduce my stress as much as possible. Because I don't know. My future feels so uncertain and I don't know how long I have. And it almost feels like, I say this phrase a lot, it feels like I'm living on borrowed time. I've been given this medication and it's allowed me to live a healthy life for the past 4 years or so. And that's why I act with such urgency towards the passions that I've had for most of my life at this point. And that's essentially YouTube. That's why I grind so hard here. I laser focus on YouTube. I know I don't upload too much to this channel, but to my main channel, Kneecap Jake, it's all I do. It's all I do. And the reason why I act with such urgency is because I don't know how long I've got. I upload to that channel and I dedicate myself. I say no to a lot of things and I just work on this, the channel, because I think, is this the only chance I have? I think about the younger me who I've uploaded to YouTube. One of my oldest videos is almost 20 years old. I've always loved to document things and upload them. And I just think about the younger version of me who felt like they were too late. I remember back in 2012 when there was already established YouTubers and I thought, I'm too late. Why didn't I start earlier? And I had a gaming channel back then, and then I just stopped, and then I had another gaming channel. And I remember it got to 2016. I was like, I'm too late. I think that was around the time I started Kneecap Jake. I thought, well, it's too late. And I didn't consistently upload. And it got to 2024. I think that was when I started uploading daily to the main channel. And I thought, why have I waited so long? I should have just made consistent videos from the start. But it always seems that way in hindsight. But I think about that a lot today because I think, how much time have I really got? If all roads lead to a flare state for me, if no matter what I choose, if I choose to stay on my medication, if I choose to stop taking my medication, if I decide to take a different medication, according to my meeting, all roads lead to a flare, eventually. And that was really depressing to hear. It's something I think about a lot. I think about, what can I do? The only real thing I can do is take action, work towards what I want to do today, and just treat myself, try and stay healthy. Now, the ultimate decision we decided is, because I'm having a baby in September, is to stay on the current plan that is currently working. Because it's been working so far, and just stay on that and reassess when the baby's like 6 months old, maybe a year old, and say, now we can maybe tweak some things and test them. But for now, we both decided the sensible thing to do is just stay with how things are. And then the other scary thing is I have to just try not to be stressed. Because if I get too stressed, there's a chance that could spur on a flare. When I talked about this to the nurse, she said, yeah, just try not to get stressed, because I know this from my own experience, but she reiterated it to me. If I allow myself to get stressed. It can, cause a flare event just because of a big life event. A big stressful life event can spur on a bad health state. I mean, that's how I got into this mess in the first place. I had a big stressful life event and I found out I had a bowel disease. So I'm going to have to just try and remain chill with a fresh baby. I'm going to have to try and remain chill and relaxed and take things as they come because my health's on the line. And if my health's on the line, the health of my family's on the line. It makes me upset to say that. I think it's true anyway, even if you don't have some sort of chronic disease. But it feels much more serious when kind of your whole fate rests on whether a chance over you might flare or not. I mean, it does make you feel powerless. But I think there are some takeaways here, which are you should follow your passions. You don't know how much time you have left. I mean, there's people that I went to school with that didn't make it this far. And, I'm in a lucky enough position to try my best. And that's all I can do. That's all anyone can do. That's all you can do too. Just try your best. And think about the amount of time that you maybe have thought about doing something versus actually doing the thing, whatever it is. And for me, it was making YouTube videos. I've thought about it for most of my life at this point, more than half my life. I mean, I can't remember how old I was back when YouTube came out. I remember, how old are my old videos? I mean, I must have done it about, is there 20 years ago, maybe 2006. 2006. I definitely have been on this platform for a long time. I've been watching YouTube solidly since then, and it's pretty much all I've been thinking about. I remember lying in bed, listening to Total Biscuit, who unfortunately passed away. He used to be my favourite YouTuber back then. And, he didn't know how long he had left, and he kept making videos, and he is an inspiration, honestly. And I'm thankful to be able to say that for, as someone who he gave me a sense of professionalism. I remember I really respected the sound quality he had. I've never been able to achieve the nice, silky, smooth sound he had from his microphone, but he's the reason why I wanted to go to university. He's the reason why I wanted to do radio initially, because I just loved the sound of a well-captured voice. There wasn't enough people on the course for me to do radio, so I ended up having to do broadcast media. Well, I didn't have to. They offered it to me, so I did that. And it turned out, I know I've talked about my story about going to uni. There's other reasons why I went. I didn't want to work in this care home at the time. But ultimately, it's because I have a passion for just documenting things and myself and the things that I'm interested in. And when you've got a big life, when you've got the threat of bowel disease or the threat of chronic disease, and to be given this blessing of this medication has worked and kept me healthy, and to think about all the time I spent sort of gliding through my teens and 20s, not really applying myself. It's been a lesson in applying myself. I've seen over the past 2 years how you really can apply yourself if it's something you're passionate about. I've worked so much harder on this than anything I have in my life. I mean, I wrote an essay on a bloody game, on bloody Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. I've been working on a video about that, and I put so much more work into that, and it's over twice the length of my university dissertation. My dissertation was absolutely crap. I spent most of it playing World of Warcraft. This gets me because there was a book that I referenced. You had to reference books in your dissertation. And one of the references was literally just cameras and sound gear. I said, you need to set up the cameras and sound equipment. And the book just said cameras and sound equipment. I use that as a quote. Like, what was I thinking? I thought they should have failed me on that dissertation. But at the time, this is relevant because at the time, I'd just been diagnosed with this inflammatory bowel disease and I didn't care. No, it felt like nothing meant anything to me anymore. Because I thought, my life is over. What's the point? I don't give a crap about this uni course. So I just, the thing I want to impart from this whole journey is, with the time that you have, do something. And just make sure it's something that you want to be doing. That's the main takeaway here. If you're not, and there's something that you've been thinking about doing and you haven't started working towards it, just do something, anything today. Just start something. Because if you don't know how long you have. None of us do. You might be a perfectly healthy young individual right now, but time ever creeps forward. And I don't know how long I have. But right now, I'm on borrowed time. And I'm going to use that borrowed time to my advantage. And I just hope that I will be healthy and live long enough to see my family grow. I always laugh when I get upset. I don't know why, but it's making me a bit upset here. I just felt like I needed to talk about this because it's really important and I haven't really got a clear answer. And I guess that's another lesson here. There is usually not a definitive answer. But I'm just thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for everything. I'll leave it here because I'm going to get too upset.